Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guest is Marcy Harmon. Marcy is a high-end Hollywood hairstylist and wig maker for your favorite TV shows and movies and singers and all of that stuff. And she also now owns a winery. So we cover that and all sorts of other stuff on this episode. And she was really cool to sit and talk to. And I think you guys are going to really like this episode. If you are watching on YouTube, hit subscribe and click the bell. You can give us a comment if you want to add anything to the conversation. Share if you think other people might like it. And always give us the little thumbs up like. If you are listening to the podcast version, you can subscribe, give us a 5-star review, or whatever review you think we deserve. So far, it's all 5-star reviews. And you can follow us on social media at Anyway Whatever Podcast, pretty much everywhere. On Twitter, we are at AWP_podcast. And my personal Instagram for my art and design is at Maximum Fluoride. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate all the support. And check out Marcy's episode. It's super, super awesome. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guest is Marcy Harmon. Hi, Marcy.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Marcy does a lot of interesting and cool things. Foremost, she is a high-end hairstylist, and you are currently up in Northern California, correct?
I am. I'm in Northern California. Yes. I live near Lake Tahoe.
Okay, right.
Yes.
I'm from San Jose, so I kind of grew up in the Bay Area too. So I have some friends who ended up moving up Placerville way after, we all grew up and started moving around.
Friends with them.
I think one of my last friends just moved to Santa Cruz, who was living up that way. And then I have some other people who are up a little further north, but yeah, we get older and we want to move out of the city, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
But you're originally from there, right?
I'm from here. Yeah, I grew up here, and I couldn't wait to get out. I was like, I am never coming back. I hate it here. It's just too small town, whatever. And then I moved back. Who knew?
How far from Tahoe is Placerville?
It's like, I would say less than an hour.
Okay. And then, so like an hour from Sacramento, somewhere in between?
Yes, exactly. It's right in between Sacramento and Tahoe. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I thought. What I thought. What's the population of Placerville nowadays?
I think it's like a little over 10,000 or so. Yeah.
All right. It is very little town, for sure.
It's a super small town. I mean, it is a little bit constricting sometimes. But, I moved here for other reasons. So I just leave and work.
Reasons we will get into.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm sorry, my nose is super itchy. At the moment, you are living in Placerville and you're like working at a salon down in San Francisco, correct?
Yes. So I work now. I'm kind of I freelance only. So I work at a salon in San Francisco called Barrow, which is a super beautiful salon that my friend Michelle Snyder owns. And I work there 1 week a month, and I teach a class for 2 of the days, and then I do clients the rest of the week. And then I travel and do the rest. So I go to the East Coast. I have clients there, New York, New Jersey, Miami. And then, I stop usually like 6 times a year. I'll stop in. I have a bunch of clients in Boulder, Colorado, which is super beautiful. And I work there too. And then I still pick up jobs in LA, and I try to keep it around 10 days a month.
Wow. To be able to set your own hours and travel around and do that stuff's got to be amazing.
I totally hacked the code on it. I can't believe it still.
That is super, super cool. I have actually been into the San Francisco salon. Marcy and my wife are friends. Everybody who listens knows my wife is also a hairstylist in the Hollywood industry, and that's kind of where they know each other from. And so I've been into the San Francisco salon, and it's a really cool space. And actually, my niece actually works there now as well. Shout out to Jackie.
So much. Hi, Jackie. I love you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she is my sister's daughter.
Yeah.
She's a good kid. I was happy that that worked out for everybody, and that she was able to work there, and that everybody's happy where they're there, and she's happy being there, and that's all super cool.
I love her. She's going to be a great hairdresser.
I have no doubt. We are a talented family. Her mother, her father, my whole side. Everybody's got skills.
Bills.
Yeah. Well, right now it's tough for anybody to pay any bills. That's kind of a weird. It's kind of a weird time with all that, with all this quarantine stuff. So I knew that you went back and forth to the East Coast, like New York and stuff. I didn't know you were doing making trips to Florida and to Colorado too. That's super cool.
Yes, I know. It's like crazy. I just have these really nice clients, and they just hire me, and yes.
It's always nice to have super great clients that hire you. Right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, I don't know how I got so lucky, but it's like a bonus, and it makes our life great.
You didn't get lucky. You had the skills, and and you found yourself in that position. But there's some famous quote about luck is like a skill and opportunity coming together at the right time, or something like that. I can't remember what it is, but something along those lines. A random personal philosophy thing around that was that I used to be a person who always felt like I was super lucky. Like, oh, I'm lucky I have this cool wife. I'm lucky I have these, this cool life. And then one day I kind of stopped and realized that it wasn't luck. It was that I was the kind of person who attracted those things, because if you're a shit person, nobody wants to be around you. Cool people won't be around you, and you won't have a good job, and you won't have cool, all these things. So it's just, just refocusing on I'm not lucky. I actually built this by being good at what I do and being I'm not saying that you don't. I was just my own personal philosophy on that.
No, it's true. I just try to be grateful for things, but I do realize like the work that's been put in is actually serious work.
Yeah, it's the fruits of your labor. Yeah,
and I'm grateful, but it is hard work.
Yeah, for sure. As it's like people like who are in the creative industries, because I definitely think that what you guys do as part of the creative industries is a lot of times we kind of get from regular Joes, we get you have a fun job, it must be nice, and it's like I busted my ass all my life to get good at what I do, and I work really hard at it, just like you do.
Really hard.
Yeah, we all do. It's
just like past work. Like you still, they have a saying in hairdressing: you're only as good as your last haircut, and it's like it's the truth.
Yeah.
Like if your last thing that you just did, you didn't put your heart into, and it was not good, you're not good.
Yeah, I think it's like that for a lot of us in all of the creative industries. It's like you got to stay on top of it. You got to stay at it, and you got to care, and you got to work really hard at it, and and not take it for granted. That you get to the point where people like you and where I'm at with our careers, where we're like, we got all these years invested, and there's all these young people coming up underneath us that that are good, and they've benefited from technologies that we didn't have available to us 25 years ago, and
famous.
And I think that's fine. Like, however you get to wherever it is you're going is fine by me. Because like you said, you're only as good as the work you do, and the people who aren't good at what they do, they're not going to stick around.
That's the truth. And it's too hard of a job, honestly, for people who aren't in it all the way or care. I try hard every time, every job, every client. I don't ever take it for granted, but I know people are like, I can do this with my eyes closed. I'm like, I can't, you know?
Right. Right. Totally. I watch Christy, when she works really hard, you know how it
Hard.
is like movies and TV shows, like that's a hard grind, man.
Yeah, it is. I mean, she does crazy stuff. Her hours are insane. How'd
She,
she
she
do that?
doesn't, she does not work 10 days a month. Like she doesn't have it set up like you do. That's for sure.
I know. I got
She's on a
lucky.
movie and
I
it's
did.
like, you know,
Yeah. They do like 20 hours a day.
but you kind of you also have some, your feet in that water a little bit, right? The
I
Hollywood
do. I do.
business.
Yeah, so I mean, I did a lot of freelance stuff when I was down there. I worked in a salon a couple days a week just to kind of make sure that I always had a certain cash flow coming in. So I was
Sure.
never waiting for a job or waiting for something. And then I took freelance jobs, and some of them, you know, you would do but not really make any money, but it fed your soul. And then
Sure.
other things you
It's
did
important.
that were like interesting and you made money, so like I was always trying to find the perfect balance of things that were feeding my soul and things that feed my family. And so I mean, after years of doing it, you meet all these really cool people, and then you get all these cool job opportunities. You still occasionally have to do jobs that you don't really get paid for, but it's like paper magazine. Like, I'll do that job for free. I mean, they don't
Sure.
pay you anything to do it, but it's paper magazine. So you do it, and it feeds your soul, and it makes you happy for months and months.
Right.
So, I mean, I got lucky after I'd been there for so long. You just meet all these people, and then they call you, like, I need you to do this thing. And I ended up kind of falling into this cool thing where I worked with some other hairdressers who were session stylists, and they were, doing a lot of everything all the time, traveling. And so they would hire me to do their wigs, like get them ready for when they came home. Uh, so I would get calls like, hey, I'm in Venice and I'm shooting this thing. I'm going to have my assistant bring a wig over. I need it to look like this. And so I would just color, cut, set, do whatever they needed to be done, call their assistant back to pick it up, and then that's it. I'd get to see it on red carpet or something. Like, it's so fun. And I didn't have to be there and do the 20-hour day. I could
Right.
just,
Yeah. From my wife being in the business, the wig part of that isn't something that most people would ever know about, and it's like insanely fascinating to me. The amount of time and effort and money that goes into making super high-end wigs for TV shows and movies and like actors
yeah.
and actresses. And you did wig work for Katy Perry, didn't you?
I did. I did that blue wig that I
The
think
famous, the famous
the,
blue wig.
the famous blue wig. I did it. Yes. So I colored and cut that wig and for my friend Rob, and I thought it was so pretty. I didn't know that it was going to end up being the blue wig, but
Her trademark, really, for a long
I
time.
know. I thought it was so pretty. I ended up doing um, another like 5 or 6 of them for her to go on tour with. So I ended up redoing that wig a whole bunch of times, but it was really fun and super
That's
pretty.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Who else have you worked with in the in down here LA Hollywood business?
Let's see. I think I wrote it down. I'm like, who have I worked with?
Oh,
I mean, one of my favorite things I did was Florence and the Machine. I did her hair
yeah.
before she sang at the Oscars one year, and she was so kind and so nice, and I got to do her actual hair.
Wow.
I did Lily Allen's hair for a bit when it was purple and orange and a whole bunch of colors. I did Katy Perry's actual hair when it was black fading to purple for a
Mhm.
little bit, like right when her movie came out. I did that. Zoe Deschanel. Let's see who else.
Mhm.
Haley Williams, Kylie Minogue, who's so super nice.
Oh, wow.
I did a Korean pop star named CL, who's awesome, and I loved how I did her hair. It came out so pretty.
I will collect images of these people and
Oh,
I'll pop them up on screen
okay,
so
good.
people
Okay,
can
good.
see as we go along.
As we're talking.
Of like, you know, I come from the punk scene and I'm listening to like a bunch of like death metal and, you know, I'm like a heavy, loud, fast music person. But I also have a great deal of other interests in music that people wouldn't necessarily expect. In particular, I'm a huge fan of Lily Allen.
You are?
I'm a huge Lily Allen fan.
Wow.
She, of all the pop stars, I think she's like the most punk rock. Like all of her songs are themes that fit really well into the I'm not gonna take your shit from the rest of society type of stuff. And
right.
you know, I think I came across her from some old blog. There was like a celebrity blog called What Would Tyler Durden Do, that kind of just, it was like they kind of made fun of famous people and their shenanigans. And but there would be people like Lily Allen, where they were like, here's a Hollywood person who's actually interesting and cool. And so she was kind of always on the plus side. And I kind of, that's how I found out about her. And then I started listening to her music and I was like, none of the themes that she sings about are like pop music themes at all. And so I like her attitude, and actually she's extremely talented, and she kind of went away for a little while. And I think she's kind of making a little bit of a comeback now. But yeah, she's Lily Allen's super cool. She's always, I make a weekly playlist on Spotify. Anything I've listened to in the art studio during the week, I put into like a 2-hour playlist and I post those every week, and she finds her way in all the time.
She does. Yeah, she's nice. I did her hair for a bunch of Grammy stuff. I forgot when it was. But I did a really cool bobby pin trick on her, and she was super open to anything. I'm like, how about we do this? She's like, okay, whatever. She really didn't care.
She strikes me as that type of person for sure.
Yeah, she was ready to just whatever you want to do. She could go with your creative flow, which was really cool.
That's awesome.
And fun. Yeah, I like
it's
her.
good to hear. It's good to hear that she's cool in person as well as having a cool creative thing going on.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so that wig stuff, like, because Christy does so much stuff in TV and movies now, I'm acutely aware of wig work in whatever it is we're watching. And so we sit and watch TV shows, and we're like super critical of all these shows and movies, wig work.
The corner of it.
It's like, what are those extensions? What are those extensions doing?
Oh my gosh.
Like the girl's hair is clearly shoulder length, and then there's these extensions that go down to her waist, and you're like, what do you fire everybody?
Oh my God, it's horrific. It's horrific. Yeah, I'm actually doing a couple wigs right now for these. I think are going to be for Christina Aguilera. Another hairdresser is hiring me to do it. I'm not actually sure what they're for because we are on lockdown.
All right.
But I mean, this is the lacy part is the problem usually in the movies when they don't strap it down and then the people don't come back and take it out in post. That's the scary part. Because then that's all I can see pretty much from then on. I'm like, the movie's over for me.
A direct correlation for me in that realm is that I was an art director in video games for like 15 years. And so I couldn't play video games for a long time because I would just sit there and I would constantly be like, why did they do that? Why did they do that? Why didn't that get done like that? And I'd reverse engineer the games, and it removed any joy I could get out of video games. And I literally didn't play games for like 10 years after I got out of that business. And I'm just now starting to get back into playing some games and stuff. But I can totally relate to that, where you're like, why? What? Why didn't they fix that?
And the thing is that I know I've been on set, so I know that stuff just happens.
Sure.
And you can't control it as the hairdresser. I also know, they go back through and re-edit stuff that wasn't supposed to be in there. And somebody else is calling the shots without regard to the hair. Surprisingly.
It's funny. It's funny the way that it all works like that, where, you know, you get a peek behind the curtain, and then it changes your perspective of pretty much everything you watch after that. But you know.
Yeah, I try not to be judgy, but I mean, I always say I never know what the hairdresser was thinking or doing. Like they maybe had to make decisions that we don't know about, but it's hard to watch regardless.
Under extreme pressure a lot of times. Like, you know, they're back in the trailer and it's like some director or some, you know, the director of photography or somebody's like, no, this isn't happening. Get this changed. And then like the people back in the trailer are like going fucking crazy trying to fix some random thing that some person on set didn't like or didn't look right. And then, you know, so I totally understand how that works as well.
I mean, I just feel bad about the whole thing. I'm like, I wish it could be perfect so I could relax now.
That's totally true. It's so true. So you started out in Placerville, and then you went down to San Francisco and worked, and then you met your husband who's a musician and was in the band Unwritten Law. And as I understand, you guys kind of did a long distance thing and then eventually kind of both just ended up in LA.
Yes. Well, he moved in with me in San Francisco and he lived with me for 2 years. And I was like, you're never here. Like you're on the road literally 9 months a year, but all your stuff is in my house. So you should move or we should figure out something else. And he's like, just try to live in LA because then we can be together more because his band was in San Diego and LA and he had practices down there and all like they'd shoot videos down there and they would do. So I was like, well, all right, I can try it. So I also was trying to buy a house in San Francisco at the same time, which is pretty much impossible. And he said, you know, you can buy a house in LA. I was like, we'll see about that. We drove down. I mean, I flew down and we drove around and I bought a house in 1 day in Highland Park.
Wow.
I was like, I'll take it. Let's buy this house.
Was that before Highland Park got safer or was it when it was still more dangerous?
I mean, it was not that bad where we were on 54th and just off York on a street called Stratford.
Okay.
So that's kind of closer to Occidental College side. I think it was a little bit more sketchy down near Figueroa. And so we were far away from there. But it was still a little bit. But I mean, I lived in San Francisco in Hayes Valley, I lived in between 2 projects for 8 years. So I was like, what? This seems perfectly normal and fine. And it was. I mean, it just got crazy around us, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I grew up in San Jose and I grew up on the southeast side, which was a little bit sketchy. And then my family business, anybody who listens to this show has heard these stories, but the family business was repossessions. My dad had his own repo company.
I heard this.
And so my first job was as a repo man, and San Francisco was one of the areas that we had to run in. So I mean, aside from growing up in San Jose and spending almost all of my teenage years on the streets of San Francisco, going to punk shows and hanging out on Haight Street and all that stuff. And then as a young adult, repossessing cars in San Francisco, I'm well aware of all of the sketchy parts of San Francisco.
I know. Yeah. I used to just get tortured walking to and from the bus stop all the time. I would just scream. They're like, that girl's crazy. I'm like, that's fine. Think I'm crazy.
All the better. So yeah, I mean, you guys, and so you were down here in LA for how long?
I was there 11 years and we got married in that time. We had kids. I started building my business, which is really funny because my husband's business actually went downhill and he ended up quitting the band and doing a bunch of like other things, which that's a familiar story. Yeah. He ended up training to be a tattoo artist in that time. But my career just was great. You know, I mean, my freelance stuff was great. I had super nice clients. I mean, I felt like you just get cool jobs handed to you and you're like, yes, I totally want to do that.
Totally.
sometimes of it being too much for me because I just worked all the time. And everyone's like, it sounds like you have a problem saying no. I was like, I want to do them. It's
Hmm.
exhausting though. It makes me feel like a crappy parent because I'm like, yes, yes, yes. But you get to do all these things that make your soul happy, you know?
So yeah, we just had a little technical problem. So so I'm gonna edit this together. So if it was a weird cut, don't freak out. So yeah, like when I was in the games industry, it was the same thing. Like I had 3 kids, and it provided me with a stable, quality income that would allow me to, raise my kids in a nice middle class lifestyle. But video games was never my passion. It was just, I went to animation school. I figured out pretty quick that I could use that in the video game industry. And so it was an easy win for me to not have to repossess cars, and I could actually use my art skills. But I always just wanted to make art for bands. That was, that's all I ever cared about, was doing t-shirts and albums and stuff for the bands
Which
that I
is
liked.
awesome.
But so I totally understand where you're coming from with that. Like, you want to work and you want to do your thing. But you have children, you've brought them into the world, and you owe them,
Yes.
you owe them something. And so, yeah, I totally
Time.
understand where you're coming from. I remember a little bit that, cause you've been my wife's hairdresser for forever.
Yes.
And, like literally the entire time that I've known her. And so,
I love her.
I get to hear your life story a little bit from her. And so I remember when Pat had left Unwritten Law and was getting into learning how to tattoo and stuff.
Yeah.
And not too long after that. And also I actually I reached out to Pat today to have him be a guest on.
Oh, yeah.
So I would love to have him on.
Love it. I'm sure. He has an interesting story.
Yeah, I'm quite sure. So yeah, not too long after that, I had come to a crossroads with my art career where I was like, I've got to start finding a regular way to make money. And I looked into becoming a tattoo artist, and it ended up not being for me because I don't have any tattoos, and I'm not super in.
I
love
either.
the art of them, and I have nothing but respect for the skill that goes into doing them. And I don't have anything at all against tattoos or tattoo culture.
I don't either.
This is not something that I'm interested in collecting, because that is what it is. It's just a new thing to collect. I collect Hot Wheels cars. I just don't collect tattoos. All of my kids are completely covered in tattoos. And all of my life, from the time I was a teenager, it was like, why don't you tattoo? Why don't you tattoo? Even to this very day, it's like, why don't you tattoo? And it's just, it's just not something I'm particularly interested in doing. The Pat's tattoos are really awesome, and I'm looking forward to having him on. Yeah. But so I know while you were down in LA, you went to school to learn something completely different.
I did. Yeah. So side note, did you know that the US stamps have Hot Wheels stamps right now?
I did not know that. Guess what I'm doing as soon as we're off this call?
Okay. So, yes. So I grew up on 40 acres, which is a vineyard. And I used to water it in my bikini, listening to Duran Duran with my Walkman, which was a tape Walkman, not to be confused with the CD. And so everybody always, my whole life was like, you pick the wine. You grew up on a vineyard. I'm like, well, we grew grapes. We didn't make wine. So I don't know anything about it. And I was always slightly embarrassed. So I started going to school at UCLA. They have a program called Wine Education and Management. And so I just took the one class first, which was basically how to taste wine, like how to smell it, how to look at it, how to, find out all these things just by looking. And I mean, you don't even have to drink it sometimes. You can just be like, this looks like this and this and this. And then I took the next class, and then slowly over the years, I mean, because I could really only take one a year or so.
Sure.
I mean, sometimes two. I ended up getting a degree or like a certificate from UCLA, which is crazy. And then, so years later, my parents were like, listen, we're tired. we need help on the property. Do you guys want to come home and start helping us, or should we sell it? So I was in a place in LA. I was kind of overworked. I wasn't feeling good. And I was like, hey, let's try it. Who gets that? Who gets handed a vineyard, you know?
Right. Not very many people, I don't think.
Oh, yeah. So then I decided to do a super small winery called a micro winery. And so now I do wine too. And that's what I do when I'm home.
So what is your guys' wine label?
My wine label is called Marcelais, Marcelais. And it's the name of, there was a guy named Henry Marcelais. And he was a gold miner in the gold rush. And he owned the property. And so I just named it after him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's extra cool.
It's cool, right? Yeah. I mean, I looked for a million names and I was like, there's just so many lame names and, you know, Golden Arrow. And, you know, it's like, I don't know. I was like, let's just go with what it is.
And it's not too far off from your name either. So I guess there's a little tie-in there.
Yeah, right. I didn't realize that actually when it all was going down. I was like, they're like, is it named after you? I'm like, no, but I think it works out okay.
Yeah. And we talked before I started recording and I said we were going to get your social media stuff out in the beginning, and then we got to talking and we didn't get it done. Where can people find your wine stuff?
Okay. So my wine stuff, you can find it marcelais.com, marcelais.com, where you can that's my website. And it's also my Instagram at Marcelais. And then I have a marcyloves.co, which is my Instagram that's hair and wine. So it's like my hair stuff and my wine stuff and, you know, a lot of stuff.
Excellent. So how long's the winery been going now then?
This is our second year with wine. I started it about 3 years ago, but it took me a long time to kind of really get rolling because it's just so heavy on the federal, state, and local laws and stuff.
I can imagine, especially in California. Everything's hard to do in California when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's so much craziness. And I mean, just working in the vineyard is a lot, which my family does. My sister and her kids and my parents still live on the property and everything is done by hand. So that's super labor intensive. And then the whole business side of the winery, which is a whole nother, just like, I think just because I'm not fully comfortable with the business part yet is a lot of work. So I think I double do it at least most of the time because I plan on messing it up and then I have to read it. So, I mean, I don't know. Now it's up and running. I mean, we just sold out of our rosé. The stuff
nice.
Is delicious. I have Pat designed one of the labels. My daughter did one of the labels. It's like a fun new creative way to get things out there. And what better? It's like for my family, it's like,
sure, absolutely. And, it can, if it's a legacy business for you, just with the grape growing, now you have a legacy business with the winery part for your kids as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And there's a whole bunch of cool stuff within that, having to like talk to people about wine and which I'm used to talking about hair all day long. And so this is like a new thing. But I really enjoy wine and I love I believe 1000% in our grapes. And so me just trying to figure out how to get it out there and practice market stuff. And, it's all stuff that I'm not used to, but whatever.
Yeah.
And it's been great actually during this whole lockdown thing to have something to do.
Right. Yeah. Trust me. I know all about that. Yeah. We were talking about that a little bit where I just, I tackled this project. Although to be totally honest, I'm just as busy with work stuff as I was before. I had a big contract with this toy company and I was expecting it to stop during this and it like got extended and like, so it's like, I'm still like trying to do my full-time gig and to learn how to make a podcast. So
I don't know. I mean, it's better to keep busy, right?
Absolutely. I don't do well just sitting around doing nothing.
No way. No. I mean, yeah, I'm happy. I feel like the winery kind of needed a moment of my time because I've been doing, sometimes when I travel, I get home and I'm just like, ugh, for a couple days before I can kind of fully get my stride back. So now
Yeah, I totally get it.
yeah, I've had tons of time just to dump into this side project that's now a full-time project.
There you go.
Yeah.
But you guys enjoy it. So as long as you
Yeah.
enjoy what you're doing,
I enjoy it. I mean, my parents are really happy. Our wine is insane. I mean, I don't make it. I hire some people. I have what's called a custom crush. And basically, we take our grapes and then I take them to this existing winery and I pay them to make it for me. And I just say, hey, this is the style that I would want. I don't like a lot of additives. I don't want you to do a bunch of manipulation. I want to just taste my fruit, and they're great. So I mean, I started out at one place and then it didn't totally work out with them, and so I moved to this other place, and now it's like perfect. So yeah, I don't know. I can't remember.
You know, growing up and living in California, forever Napa was where all the wine was made, and now it seems like there's wine being made all over California. There's vineyards everywhere and wineries everywhere. And is up in your area in Placerville, or is there more, is that business grown?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's grown a lot up here just in the time that I've been here, which is just a few years. But just south of us is the Shenandoah Valley, which is really famous also down in Amador. And El Dorado is definitely starting to get, its hooks in the market. A lot of people from Napa buy grapes from up here, but we just didn't have that many people who had like big wineries. So there's a lot of like mom and pop small wineries up here. And then, Napa and Sonoma are still like the beasts in California. They're great, but I mean, down by you guys, I love the San Ynez Valley. Like some of my favorite wines come out of down there. It's a good place.
Yeah, I see them because I still have to go back up to Northern California a couple times a year to see my family, and because my wife has to come to see you to get her hair done. And so the Central Valley, there's like a ton of wineries out in the Central Valley now, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it's just California because there's just heat all the time. Grapes love it,
And we have like the best soil on earth. California has the best soil.
It's the best soil
on earth.
Yeah. I mean, all those grapes though that grow in the middle of California, like a lot of those they just use for California raisins because the grapes have such an easy time growing. It's like so relaxing and awesome for them that they don't make very interesting wines. So grapes like it.
Okay.
Grapes like it if they have to struggle a little bit, like grow into a rock or like grow in a really windy place or foggy sometimes, or like any sort of hard life for the grapes makes the wine more interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It makes people more interesting too.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I can totally get that.
Yeah.
That it's like that's a nice correlation to
life.
to life in general.
Yeah.
And so you guys are doing the wine thing, and then you go down to San Francisco and do hair, and then you go all over the country. So right now you're not going anywhere, and you're just kind of. Has Pat been able to go back to work at all in the tattoo parlors, or is that?
He is.
Does he? Where's he working out of? Is he up in the Placerville area, or does he travel?
No, he's in Placerville. He's at Hangman Tattoo, and he also still goes to LA and tattoos sometimes, and San Diego. So usually he does that a few times a year. And
where does he work down here in LA?
In LA, he works actually in at the Ace of Hearts, which is San Pedro, Long Beach, in Long Beach.
Oh, okay.
So he was working downtown at the Crimson Unicorn, I think, but I think that shop might be gone now. So, but yeah.
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 I can imagine a lot of tattoo shops are going to be gone after this, which sucks. But you know what? the artists are still around, so it'll all crop back up.
Yeah.
You know, it'll take a little time, but it'll all crop back up.
Yeah, I mean, we're just doing a bunch of side projects. I mean, people FedEx me wigs. So that's great because I can just make money at home. You know, like they'll FedEx me a couple wigs and I'll just, do them and FedEx them back. So
even better.
I know. So I can still do some work. And then Pat's, we've been doing, I make cutting boards and Pat, we make all these like wooden things because my dad has this awesome wood shop and he burns on them. So we have a bunch of orders for that stuff. I mean, we're just doing like stuff. It's really just to keep us busy.
Yeah. Yep. That's what we're doing too.
Yeah. I'm always.
I know Christy's supposed to go back on a movie here pretty soon, but my guess is that it's all going to lock down again, and that's going to be put on hold before it even starts back up.
Yeah, I can see.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy
true.
Times.
I don't know what to do about it other than just what we're doing, I'm like, whenever I get to do hair, I'm like, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you really can do. I mean, all you can do is that's like one of the main reoccurring themes of this show is like the DIY spirit. People who just get to it because that's what there is to be done, Yeah. Not waiting around for anybody to tell you what you need to do or what you can do or what you should do. Just do what you do.
Just start doing it and then eventually you'll do it, which, I mean, so many times with hair, if I would have known how long I would have had to train beforehand, I probably would have said like, what? But then you're just in the middle of it. You're like, well, I'm not quitting. Like we're doing, and I'm already doing it. This is awesome. And the same thing for wine. It's like you start and you're like in the middle and you're totally just like punching yourself. Like this sucks. Why would anybody do this? And then you're like, oh, we're doing it. And like you get past it,
I've had a lot of those moments trying to figure out how to make this show where I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Why? I'd just be relaxing right now, but I'm trying to figure out how to make a podcast.
Yeah, totally. Actually, the podcast part is the easiest part. There's a million ways to just record audio.
Right.
This industry has not yet come up with a really good way to record video and audio
together.
So that has been the struggle, is finding the best way to get both. And there's a lot of easy ways, but there's not a lot of ways that give you better than average results. And so that's been the struggle of like just trying to figure out the best software pieces because like I've got like 4 things running right now.
Yeah.
I'm recording the audio. I'm recording my audio separate. I'm recording my video separate. I'm recording, I've got Skype going. I've got all this.
Yeah.
And it took weeks of like YouTube searches and web searches of what software will do this, what software will do that. Right. And like I've finally figured out the best way. And then I took about 6 weeks between the first batch of guests and this next batch. You were the first guest in the next batch. And and I tried to find an easier way to do it. And there were easier options for sure, but none of them gave me the amount of control over the files that I wanted, right, so that I could process them individually. Because I want the audio separate so that if there's something wrong with it, I can process my audio and your audio separate. And, it's a bunch of boring nonsense I had to.
I bet also in like a month, there'll be a new way also. And then you'll be like, wait a second. And you'll have to go and figure that way out.
Especially now. Yeah. Somebody's like, now that I'm sure there's going to be a wave of podcasts and YouTube shows coming out because everybody had nothing to do. Yeah. There'll be a bunch of new software in the next year that will hopefully help all of this go better. But my hope really is that there's some kind of vaccine comes along and there's some way for people to be back in the same room and because I have this 400 square foot art studio that I'd like to have people in to talk in person and just do these things in person, you know?
Yeah, that would be great. I feel like, I mean,
at some point it will be.
I don't know.
I hope.
Yeah, I think with my job, my hair job, like it's never happened. I've been through so many recessions, and I've always said that. I've always told assistants even, I'm like, this job is recession proof. Like, never have I ever had any problems. But this is something I had no idea about. And I mean, I've never not worked for this long. This is insane. And it's
it's not virus proof, I guess.
It's not virus proof. I mean, because we're on top of people, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's the conversation that me and Christy have constantly been having about her going back to work and what movies and TV coming back. And it's like they're in a tiny little trailer and you're within 12 inches of somebody's face. And even if everybody's wearing a mask, that's too close, man. That's too close if you ask me.
Yeah, and it's so, our job is so interpersonal. Like you're talking to them, you're looking at them, you know, we're like, it's like skin touching skin. It's a lot of stuff. It's scary during this, and I'm not afraid of people, but I'm like afraid of this. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you guys' industry is one of the few industries outside of the medical field where you actually have to touch people.
Yeah.
You know, like there's not a lot of jobs outside of tattooing and the medical industry where you actually have to physically touch your client. And that's, you know, that's why you guys have so much schooling and so much certification about hygiene and stuff, which I totally get.
I get it too. You know what? Lice. Now it's like there's a whole bunch of weird stuff that you have to keep your eyes open for as a hairdresser.
Oh God.
You know, so like, I don't know. Now it's like, I don't know how it's going to become normal again, but I know my clients are freaking out. They're like, when?
I know. I hear my wife. I hear my wife all the time. She's like, this sucks.
I know. Yeah, I did my own hair. I balayaged it the other day. And I was mad. And my girls are like, you should have left it on longer. You have some brassy. I was like, I know. It's like, I don't want to do it, but I'm just trying to work it out, man.
Totally. It's totally weird. It's a weird thing. Yeah. Doing your own hair. I watch my wife do her own hair, and that is also weird. It's like, I couldn't imagine. I imagine it's not unlike tattooing yourself.
I've done that for sure. When he was new and learning, he tattooed himself, and he's like, it's like on purpose punching yourself. I
have a lot of friends who tattoo, and every single one of them has tattoos that they did themselves on themselves.
Yeah, it's a thing.
So I mean, I think we covered most of the stuff that I have like a cheat sheet I always talk about where I send everybody like a little thing. Tell me what you want to talk about. And then so whenever I'm looking over this way, I'm kind of just going over the sheet to make sure I covered everything. I think we got most of the stuff that you talked about. You know, for me, this was super cool to finally get to actually meet you in person because I know, it's so good like we mentioned, like, you know, I hear about you and your life through my wife, and you hear about me and my life through my wife. And so, it's
and your niece
and my niece. Yes.
Yes.
So it was really cool to actually get to meet you and that, you know, just learning more about, like all that wig stuff and your winery and stuff. That's super cool. Super cool. And, looking forward to having Pat come on if he's interested in doing so.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he will.
Cause I know I bet we have a dozen friends in common
oh my gosh,
or more.
Pat, as soon as, I'm sure he knows a bunch of your art anyway, cause he's such a metalhead.
I guarantee he either has owned or owns stuff that I've done.
Of course.
That's actually my business card for my art is, you already own something I've made in your collection. It says that right on my business card. You know, after 30 years of doing this, it's pretty true.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure. Yeah, and he's such a collector. I mean, he has his record collection, his poster collection, his like toy collection is like insane.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
sure
mean,
you guys will hit
you
it
can see
off.
part of my toy collection behind me. I have like
Yes,
another
I
20
see.
Rubbermaid tubs in the attic above me full of
Mm,
shit.
yeah. Yeah, I know. We're going through it in the garage right
Yeah, but
now.
you've got
I'm like,
40 acres. So don't make him throw any of it away. You've got more than
uh,
enough room.
I'm not gonna make him. I just want him to organize it in a manner that, because he's like, where is that thing? I'm like, good luck. Good luck.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, he can tell you the whole story too. I think, I mean, his story is interesting because his wife made him move up to the country, and he's Korean. You know,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
one of like a few Korean in Placerville. I think there's 9 Koreans, and he's
Oh,
one.
all right. Well,
Yeah,
there's nothing like sticking out, I guess.
I know. Well, I mean, he's good. He's such a nice person that
Yeah, of course.
I guess.
That goes back to what we were talking about before.
Uh,
Like, you are a good, talented, nice person. And so, of course, that's what you have as a husband.
yes, look at him. He's
I'm
best.
fond of this
Yeah,
saying,
it's just the
water
life.
seeks its own level, you know?
It's yes, I think that's true. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. We both do things creatively and make money and live our life. It's like I feel like if I can teach my kids anything, do what you love, money come.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And kind of in a similar vein, like, my middle son has just started an art business, and he's kind of the first of
Oh,
my kids who, is going down that road. So I've been helping him get going with that. Cause he doesn't really draw, but he's super creative. So we're working on this project together. He's like doing these, etched mirrors, that have like
cool.
these, like, characters and funny sayings, and they harken totally back to like the old, like mirrors you could get at the fair that had like, weird sayings
Yes.
like ass, grass, or gas. No one rides for free. So they're kind of like that. They'll have one of the last ones we did is it was like a Pink Panther with a cigarette, and it was like smoke them if you got them. And so there are these etched mirrors, and so I have the ability to like, to draw and design this stuff, and then I have a vinyl plotter, so I cut the stencils, and he makes these mirrors, and it's a project we do
Cool.
together. And it's like, if I would have realized that was a business that could be successful, like he's being with it, I would have started doing it a long time ago. He's
Yo, what?
constantly
People
busy
want
selling
those?
these mirrors. He cannot keep them in stock. As soon as he makes them and puts them on Instagram, they're gone like overnight. And so he gets cut. Now he's got a lot of custom commissions where people are coming to him to do like custom ones. And he's like, he has a full-time job. And so he's like now got 2 full-time jobs.
Well, that's awesome though. Like, who knew that you could make a living at that?
It's
That's
crazy.
great.
It's totally crazy. And it's awesome to be able to do something like that. But yeah, you're right. It's like, it's that thing that my kids, if they got anything, all my kids are adults now. My youngest
Yeah,
one's
which is
26 and my
crazy and
oldest one's
awesome.
going to just turn 31. And so if there's anything I imparted with them, I hope it's that. I hope it's that you only got one shot at this life. And so
You got one
you've
shot.
got to you owe it to yourself to do what you want to do with it. Other people's
Yeah,
expectations of you are way less important than your expectations of yourself and how you want to live your life. It's
yeah.
your responsibility to do that. And there's like a super famous quote from Frank Zappa, and I'm not a Zappa music fan, but I love Frank Zappa as a person.
I love Frank
And
Zappa
there's
too.
this quote
Yeah,
about how if you end up with this shitty, boring life because that's what society told you should have, then it's your fault. You got what you deserve.
it's your fault. Yeah, you have a choice. I mean, you made it.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like if you're doing something that you're passionate about, you're probably going to be good at it too, because you're passionate and you're going to put the work
Right.
in,
And
you
even if
know?
you aren't, if it just makes you
And
happy, That's enough. I mean, in this life, just doing something that makes you happy, regardless of what anybody else thinks about it, is, that's as good as you can do, as far as I'm concerned.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. I feel lucky. I found two things. Pat found two things.
Right.
Like music and tattooing, and I do hair and wine. Like we both. Who finds two?
Super fortunate.
Like, it's shocking. It's shocking.
That's great, though. That's great. And it's also great that you have both been extremely successful at both of those things. It's not like you middle of the roaded any of that stuff. You guys are both like high level at all of those things, and that's even more incredible. Okay, Marcy, I think we're going to wrap it all up. Our my internet connection problems have created a little bit of a logjam on this end of it, which I apologize for.
It could be mine.
So yeah, I appreciate you coming on and spending time with me. It's been really fun.
Great.
And
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I will let you know when the episode is going to air, and you guys stay safe.
Yeah, you too. Please enjoy your day. Also, tell your lovely wife that I miss her and I want to see her as soon as possible. And thank you so much for sending your niece into
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thanks, Marcy.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, you too.
I'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye.
Okay.